Imagine falling from the sky, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and surviving. Sounds impossible, right? But for one man, this was not just a nightmare, it was his reality. Meet Frane Selak, a music teacher from Croatia, who would become known as the unluckiest, yet luckiest man in the world. Over the course of his life, Frane would face death in ways most people could never imagine. He survived train crashes, car accidents, and most unbelievably, 3 plane crashes that should have taken his life. But the real question is, was it luck, or was something much bigger at play? It was the year 1963. Frane Selak, then a 33-year-old music teacher, had just boarded a small commercial flight from Zagreb to Rijeka, Croatia. He had no idea that this flight would mark the first of many brushes with death. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. Without warning, one of the plane's doors ripped open mid-air, causing a violent decompression. The aircraft shook violently as passengers clung to their seats in terror. And then, Frane was sucked out of the plane. No parachute. No safety gear. Just open sky and certain death below. But somehow, he survived. The dense trees and soft snow had broken his fall, turning what should have been a fatal drop into a miraculous escape from death. The plane crashed moments later, killing everyone else on board. Frane was the only survivor. It should have been the end of the story, but for Frane Selak, this was just the beginning. After surviving the impossible, Frane tried to return to normal life. But how do you go back to normal, when you've fallen from the sky and lived to tell the tale? He vowed to never fly again. And for years, he kept that promise. But fate had other plans. In 1970, Frane decided to take a train from Sarajevo to Dubrovnik. No planes, no risks. Just a simple, safe journey. But just like before, disaster struck when he least expected it. A mechanical failure caused the train to derail and plunge into an icy river, sinking fast. In the chaos, dozens drowned instantly. But Frane? He somehow managed to break a window and swim to shore. 47 people lost their lives that day. And once again, Frane Selak was the only survivor. Was he lucky, or cursed? After surviving not one, but 2 deadly accidents, Frane began to wonder if something greater was at play. By now, Frane Selak had survived a plane explosion and a train crash. He had lost count of how many times people called him the luckiest man alive, but to him, it felt more like a curse. He avoided trains. He avoided planes. But in 1976, he had no choice but to board another flight. He didn't know it yet, but this flight would be his most terrifying encounter with death. Then, at 33,000 feet, disaster struck once again. One of the engines burst into flames, causing the plane to lose control. It spiraled downward, plummeting toward the ground at hundreds of miles per hour. The pilots fought desperately to stabilize the aircraft, but it was no use. The plane was going down. Then, boom! Every single person on board was killed, except for one. Frane had been thrown from the plane just moments before impact. His seat tore through the wreckage and landed in a patch of soft grass. For the 3rd time, Frane Selak had cheated death in a way that seemed beyond human understanding. By now, Frane Selak had escaped death 3 times, twice in the air, once on the ground. But his story wasn't over yet. As his story spread, people began to wonder. Was he the luckiest man alive? Or was he cursed? A Croatian man, Frane Selak, has survived multiple deadly accidents, including plane crashes, a train wreck, and even a bus accident. Some call it divine intervention, others call it sheer luck. Frane didn't like the attention. He didn't believe he was special. In fact, he began to fear what might come next. For years, he lived in paranoia. Every time he stepped outside, he feared that death was lurking around the corner. And yet, the accidents didn't stop. In 1995, while driving through the mountains, his car suddenly lost control. The wheels skidded on an icy curve, sending the vehicle plunging over the edge of a cliff. Yet again, Frane survived. And then, something changed. After decades of living in fear, Frane finally decided to stop running. If death wanted him, it had plenty of chances. But he was still here. Then, in 2003, Frane Selak's life took one final, bizarre twist. And in an unbelievable stroke of luck, a retired Croatian man has won the lottery, taking home over $1 million. After escaping death 7 times, Frane won the lottery and lived out his days in peace. Some say Frane Selak was the luckiest man in history. Others believe he was simply living on borrowed time. But one thing is certain, his story will never be forgotten. What do you think? Was Frane Selak blessed, cursed, or simply the luckiest man who ever lived? Let us know in the comments. And if you love mysterious, unbelievable real-life stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. More mind-blowing stories are on the way.